Oh, shit. Oof. Holy crap.
On YouTube, and his name is. And he has no problem with taking his sweet time with the intro on my channel because he doesn't have to cut it down. But with that being said, what we're going to be discussing in terms of Piccolo's ability is something which is very peculiar in terms of different abilities that he possesses. After all, Piccolo has shown he has to wear a very unique clothing, which is weighted clothing. And up until the point where we saw that Piccolo can seemingly spontaneously generate it in the Cell Sun, for instance, where after his fight against Cell and the androids, after recovering from his near deadly experience with Imperfect Cell, what happens is that Piccolo immediately spawns the clothing on his body. And then later on in the arc, we also see that he uses this very same ability on Gohan. After Gohan walks up to him after exiting the time chamber and asks for him to bestow upon him Piccolo's clothing, showing him the results of Piccolo's training and legacy on him. In a sense, while simultaneously having the Super Saiyan hair that was given to him bestowed upon him created by his father, he is also wearing the clothing of his father's greatest enemy from the past, and rival at one point, kind of fusing them together in his own character, which is even more poetic considering the fact that the first time we saw Piccolo use this ability on the screen was when he actually used it on Gohan after he had destroyed the moon and released him from being an Ozaru, giving him what was essentially his father's clothing, but with Piccolo's symbol. So, in a sense, Walkman, how do you think the clothes beam actually works? Where do you think it even came from in the first place?
Well, I think that the close beam is a really interesting technique, like, because Piccolo is not the only person in Dragon Ball history to use it. Another character that I remember using a similar technique to be Kamina. If you go back to the Blue Saga specifically, there was a scene where Gohan, like, basically asking Kamina if he could, like, give him clothes similar to his dad, and then, like, within a few seconds it, like, rematerializes on top of Gohan. And I think the interesting thing is that when you consider the fact that Piccolo is, combined with me at this point, and Supreme Guys are essentially gods in their own right, and Kwame was a god in his own right, you can think that this might be some type of divine type energy, or some type of divine type ability where these beings or entities, shall we say, basically just rematerialize clothes onto a given being. Now, obviously, if they could do this, you probably wonder, well, if you could put clothes on somebody, maybe you could do a lot more than that. But I think basically it seems to be like some type of divine thing of some sort.
Additionally, another character who had influence from the divine beings in the past was Majin Buu, who also had the ability to create clothing as well as a number of other things using his handy beam for magical materialization. We see that Daishinkan, the Grand Priest or Great Master, also was able to do this when he created the Tournament of Power ring. So it does seem like this ability is a part of that divine hierarchy or divine order in which they somehow have the ability to supersede the laws of matter, in which they can actually create items either out of thin air or by somehow forming all the matter around them that's in the space around them in order to create these items. Now, with regard to that, it does seem like Piccolo is using this in order to create his wig clothing. However, is this something that Piccolo is just creating a replication of, or do you think that Piccolo, with regard to his clothing with Gohan and so on, is actually creating heavier and heavier clothes every single time in order to make himself even stronger?
Well, I think it depends on the intent that you're referring to, right? Because I think when you look at Gohan, for example, another example of what I think is a little pre-materialized outside of Vegeta would be directly right after he comes out of the Remus Golden Time Hyperbolic Time Chamber, which is why during the Cell Games Gohan Club was so tired. And in that particular case, it seemed like it was purely for aesthetics. But, Mike, I think, though, that a fan theory that has always kind of made some sense, and I'll give the Dragon Ball community credit for this, is that there's been a theory going back years ago, you will remember in Dragon Ball Super, where a lot of fans were believing that with the way the show was going in with the gods and stuff, that Namekians were basically like lower gods. Because if you look at the way that the show is, like, obviously when you look at, you know, Super Dragon Balls versus the regular Dragon Balls, we have multiple different sets. It seems like Namekian quote-unquote figured out the divine type of energy more than any other more basic people. And as a result of Namekians being more quote-unquote divine than other groups of people, they would have had other abilities like this, like closed materialization and such. So as a result, it actually makes a lot of sense why Namekians would be able to do this more than any other group of people. And then when you look at a character like Boo, his ability to use magic, it just makes sense from a magical point of view why Boo's able to do this.
Absolutely, and with regard to the Namekians, like you said before, they are referenced a number of times by higher beings. Like, for example, the Elder Supreme Kai knew about them despite the fact that he was from 13 generations before, and even knew about the Dragon Ball. So they are a device, a magical artifact in a sense, that could summon a dragon god, which is able to circumvent the laws of nature and reality that was set forth by the gods themselves, doing things that are essentially like cosmic cheat codes according to the Elder Supreme Kai, which then in turn allow people to be brought back from the dead, which basically takes them from one universe to another and does a lot of really incredible things that you are not able to do, or even really the Namekians themselves don't seem like they're normally able to do without the Dragon Balls. You know, it's kind of like Sauron from Lord of the Rings. When he focused all of his power into the ring, he was actually able to make himself more powerful than when he simply had that power normally. It's kind of the idea behind magical artifacts in general. And with that idea in that vein of thought, there's also another different ability that Piccolo might be able to use with regard to the clothes beam, which is using it kind of offensively. Because if Piccolo could create clothing and potentially armor with this, well, certainly he might be able to do something like create weaponry, or maybe even create traps. Like, could Piccolo theoretically make a really powerful sword, kind of like we saw with Deborah when he was fighting against Gohan in the Buu Saga? Or perhaps would Piccolo be able to make any other type of weaponry or any other type of material which could protect and defend against another enemy? Do you think that that's possible too?
Absolutely. Now, the question is depending on what Piccolo you're talking about in the series, because if you're talking about like an earlier Piccolo, I feel like his ability to do this type of materialization would be limited, even if he does have some knowledge of it. But when you compare him to the Piccolo later on that uses with Kami, I feel like it really opens up significantly more for him to, as you mentioned, with Kami, he got a lot of his knowledge about things. And when you also factor in that Piccolo's also fused with Nail, Nail is a warrior type Namekian, but it is possible that he might learn some things that we don't know about, and as a result of it, because he was so close to Guru, maybe he knows things that we never knew. And so that influence inside of Piccolo obviously rubs off into Piccolo having knowledge of Nail's stuff. So when you factor in that Piccolo's essentially more peaked in one because he has the memories of his father, he's fused with Kami and he's fused with Nail combined himself, it really is very, very vast of all the possible things Piccolo could do when you consider the fact that he's essentially people.
Absolutely, and while we're on the topic of different applications, let's have some fun with it and talk about if Piccolo really used his strategic mind to its ultimate capabilities, what he can even do with this ability. Like, for example, if he used it more offensively. Like, another example I mentioned before with powerful magical artifacts would be with his Mjolnir, which is his hammer, which has the ability to where if somebody tries to pick it up other than him, or who is not worthy, then they're not able to do so, and it's basically infinitely heavy. So in the original Thor movie, we've seen that Thor actually is able to use the hammer by putting on Loki's chest and making it where he can't even get up from the ground because it's so heavy that he can't lift it because he's not worthy. So could Piccolo theoretically use the clothes beam to make weighted clothing so heavy that he puts it on his enemy and traps them in it, basically immobilizing them and making it to where he can finish them off, for example? Or maybe Piccolo can get super creative with it. Like maybe since Piccolo made clothing and put them on somebody, maybe he can put something in them. Like for example, maybe he can materialize something in their trachea or in their lungs, or he can materialize like poison gas or something that will in turn cause his enemy to be taken out rather quickly. After all, who says it just has 6 set clothes?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that's extremely possible, but it all just depends on what Piccolo's mentality is, which really goes to show you that Piccolo truly is a good guy, because he probably has a race that we've never even heard about or seen, because he's not evil anymore, he just chooses not to use them. It shows a lot of respect. You know, one thing you and I have talked about here, Mike, is a person that is really worthy of respect is somebody that has power, which like takes and like keeps it under control, because it's very easy to abuse power once you have it, you know.
Especially if you have
Yes.
like a certain Chief Palpatine.
Yes. Every time.
With that being said, guys, in terms of this ability, it certainly is an interesting one that seemingly kind of popped out of nowhere, just like Piccolo's clothes. I think it was probably a way for Toriyama just making it more convenient for Piccolo to put on his clothes whenever he wants to, without having to have a spare set of super weight clothing that he had to carry around with him. And the same thing for putting them on Gohan, just to make it convenient and not having to like have Piccolo go to a tailor or something like that to create them, which is an actual plot point that has appeared in Dragon Ball before with Mercenary Tap. But with that being said, in terms of the in-universe, this is the best idea I think that we have as to how it can actually work. But now is the time for you guys to let us know your own thoughts down below in the comments, how you think this ability would work. Additionally, make sure to check out Quan Man's Land in the end screen, as you can see popping up in the description. So, if you're new to this channel, consider subscribing and enabling all notifications so you can stay up to date with all my future videos. Leave a like, share this video out, and make sure to stick around, because there's a lot more videos to come in the future. But really, Quan Man, the question here is, Piccolo make chopsticks that don't need chop.
And that's where this video ends.
Ah.
One second. Let's get it's probably this works and stop. So I'm running through it.
Oh man. Okay. Oh, holy crap. Ah, I gotta get off. Good.